The Broncos certainly had their chances to win this one, but just a few too many mistakes to get it done in LA. The Broncos fall 19-16. Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Broncos Postgame Show. I'm Phil Milani alongside Eric Dalala. Eric, I think the story of this one comes down to, I hate to say it, the Jerry Jeudy drops.
Yeah, that's right, Phil. 2 drops in the first half, several costly ones in the second half, one in the end zone that would have been a touchdown. And of course, on the final drive where you end up having a 50-yard Hail Mary attempt at the end of the game, whereas Jerry Jeudy might have had a walk-in touchdown there from over 70 yards out. First-round pick has talent. We've seen him perform. He did have 6 catches for 61 yards, but on 15 targets and dropping, I believe, 5 passes, you just expect a little bit more out of him. Drew Lock and him need to get on the same page going forward into next season. And certainly, like you mentioned, Phil, kind of the storyline of the game, just that they weren't able to connect and that Jerry had so many opportunities and wasn't able to make the most of them.
Just 4 catches the last 4 games for Jerry Jeudy. So maybe you thought they were going to make him a big part of this game plan, get him the ball as much as possible. They did that, but like you mentioned, just too many drops. That's definitely going to be something that we pay attention to moving forward. And you just feel bad for him because he's young. He's obviously got the talent to get open, but maybe it's a focus issue. Well, I don't know. Maybe they called it the yips on the broadcast, but those plays certainly cost the Broncos because it seemed like they were in position to yet again come from behind and get the victory.
Yeah, there were other mistakes, to be fair. You know, the Broncos defense gave up a big drive in the first half. Brandon McManus missed a field goal, hit the left upright twice. He attempted the field goal twice in a row after a penalty. Drew Lock threw a really bad decision on an interception there on the Broncos' early drive. So it wasn't just on Jerry Jeudy. And, you know, I think the big story for me, Phil, is that the Broncos crossed midfield, I believe, 6 times before they finally scored a touchdown, just couldn't quite cap these drives off. And, you know, the offensive display toward the end of the game was impressive, 13 points in the fourth quarter. You almost are able to complete that Hail Mary, but it needs to start earlier. It can't wait till the fourth quarter. And that's probably what the Broncos need to figure out going forward, not just next week against the Raiders, but going into 2021.
Yeah, the Broncos had been so good in the red zone, 100% the past 2 games, just 1 for 4 on Sunday in Los Angeles, and really didn't get much of anything going until the fourth quarter. Let's check out some of the highlights here. The Broncos down 16-6 in the fourth when Drew Lock finds Tim Patrick on 4th and 7. That played good for 27 yards. Then a couple of plays later, Locke throws it up to Deshaun Hamilton, who probably had his best game of the season. That one down to the 1-yard line. And then Drew Lock decides to take it in himself. His 3rd rushing touchdown of the season made it 16-13 after a 3-and-out forced by the defense. McManus made a 52-yarder look pretty easy after missing a 37-yarder earlier in the game. The Broncos get the ball back with 41 seconds after a Chargers field goal, and their last chance here, a Hail Mary, and of all people, Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams comes down with it. The Broncos fall to 5-10 on the year, 19-16 the final in this one. Let's go to Sidney Jones now, who's standing by with our player of the game.
Right. It wouldn't be a Broncos-Chargers game without it coming down to the final play. We are here with Alexander Johnson after the game. Alexander, there's 1 second on the clock. You guys are down by 3. What was going through your head during Drew's Hail Mary throw as you're on the sideline watching?
Well, first thing I seen was obviously they lined their 81 up over our 81. And anytime you have a jump ball, obviously you would want to throw up to our 81. And they had their 81 over our top of us, and I was just hoping come down with the ball, and obviously their receiver was able to come down with the ball, and we wasn't able to. But it was the last play. I wish we could have had a miracle play right there, but it didn't turn out in our favor.
Yeah. Well, the defense did a really good job limiting scoring opportunities for the Chargers today. How pleased were you in the defense's ability, to keep the Broncos in the game? You held the Chargers to just 19 points.
That right there is I feel like we played pretty well for the most part of the game. We gave up a few plays where we could have sealed it a little more. So I'm about to say we're always trying to work and eliminate those few plays that we did did bad because a few bad plays can overshadow a good game that you play. So that's the biggest thing right there. Just try to eliminate those.
Yeah, you guys were obviously without Bradley Chubb today. What'd you think of the guys who stepped up in his place? Jeremiah Tachu, Derek Puska.
They've been doing it all season. You know, both of them, Malik and Tachu, they've been making plays for us all season. Obviously, Malik got the strip sack. And so that right there was a big changing point for us to help us. So those guys been doing what they're supposed to do all season. So I'm about to say I don't feel like he's a lack in our defense because of the other guys out.
Yeah. All right. Last one for you. You're going into the last game of the season, another AFC West opponent. What's the mindset heading into the final week?
Pretty much it's our last game. It's a rival game. We're going against a rival team. So just go out and play to the wall. Like, give it all you got. Our last game, try to play as hard as you can, play the best you can, and end on a good note. Obviously, the season haven't been the way we wanted it to be, but we have one last game, one last chance to close it up with a good win.
All right. Appreciate your time, Alexander. Thanks for chatting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You have a good one.
Thank you very much, Sydney. Eric, I guess the question is, why did it take so long for this Broncos offense to get going, and where do they go from here?
Yeah, well, it really didn't take them a long time to get going just in terms of moving the football. They were able to do that right away. They were actually far more effective than the Chargers early in the game, which is why it was kind of frustrating that you fall behind 3-0, 10-0, 13-0. It just took a little bit too long because when there were critical plays, the Broncos didn't make them, whether, like we mentioned, Drew Lock throwing an early interception, Brandon McManus missing a field goal, Jerry Jeudy having some ill-timed drops. Those plays all affected them. And right now, with as many people that the Broncos are missing, they just don't have the talent, or I don't know what it is, but to be able to overcome those mistakes. But they figured things out in the fourth quarter. Hopefully they're able to carry that forward against the Las Vegas Raiders next week. Obviously the Raiders are reeling a little bit as well. And with both teams eliminated from postseason contention, it'd still be nice to beat a division rival, head into the offseason on a high note. But Phil, Drew Lock's got to figure out a way to stop turning the ball over. I know the last the last interception was on a Hail Mary. Hard to fault him too much for that one, but he's got to find a way to play a clean football game because he made some great throws when he did. And then, of course, if he can connect with Jerry Jeudy more often, avoid some of these drops, Broncos offense may be able to realize that potential a little bit earlier in these games.
Yeah, the last one I had for you here, Eric, is just throw the box score out, just the eye test. What did you think about Drew Lock versus Justin Herbert here?
I think eye test wise, they looked pretty similar to me. Justin Herbert had a few more scoring drives, but those scoring drives were few and far between. They were able to sustain fewer scoring drives sustain fewer drives, but turn them into scoring drives, while the Broncos kind of moved the ball pretty well every time they had the ball, but just couldn't convert when it mattered. The big thing is, Phil, Justin Herbert really didn't make the mistake. And so that's what ends up helping the Chargers get that win. But they're close. It just comes down to getting rid of the small errors. Drew Lock's still working on that.
Well, just one more to go here for the Broncos as the Raiders come to town next week. They fall in this one 19-16, the final. That's going to do it for us. For Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani. This has been the Broncos Postgame Show.